They called her the Cursed One. Lisari sat alone in a clear glass chamber, her hands folded in her lap, her glowing eyes staring at nothing. Her silver hair fell softly around her face. No one came close. Guards watched her from behind thick metal walls. Machines beeped quietly, checking her heartbeat, her breathing, her silence. She had not spoken in weeks. Every being who had ever touched her died. Instantly. No screaming. No warning. Just death. Some believed she was born cursed. Others whispered she had been made this way, by cruel science or an ancient weapon no one dared mention. Either way, everyone feared her, even her own people. Once a princess of the Ilari, a proud alien race known for their songs and light, she was now a prisoner, not by chains, but by fear. Outside the chamber, a tall human man walked through the steel doors. He wore a long brown coat, worn boots, and a calm expression. His name was Jace Morrow. He was not a soldier, not a spy, just a traveler. Yet he had requested to see her. "Are you sure?" the guard captain asked, his voice shaking. "Touching her means death." Jace nodded. "I understand. No one touches her, ever. Not skin, not clothes. Even her breath can kill if you're too close." Jace smiled slightly. "Then I won't breathe much." The door hissed open. Everyone held their breath. Lisari didn't move. She had seen many try to enter before. Doctors, diplomats, scientists, and all had watched from a distance. None dared step inside. But this human, he entered. Slowly, step by step. Lisari's eyes finally moved. She looked at him with surprise, then suspicion. "Don't come closer," she said softly. Her voice was like music, low and sad. "Why?" Jace asked gently. "Are you going to kill me?" "I don't want to. But you could?" She looked down at her hands. "Yes." Jace stepped closer. The guards outside shouted warnings, but he ignored them. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I heard you were alone. I thought maybe you didn't want to be. I'm dangerous. So am I," he said, with a grin that didn't match the seriousness of his eyes. Lisari stood slowly. She had not stood in many days. Her body was thin, her feet bare, her skin glowed faintly in the low light. She was beautiful, but broken. "I don't want you to die," she whispered. "Maybe I won't." "You will. They always do." Jace reached out his hand. Lisari stepped back. "Don't," she warned, her voice trembling. But he didn't stop. He took another step forward, and another. Lisari backed into the glass wall, her breath quickening. Fear rose in her chest. Not for herself, for him. "Stop," she cried. His hand was now inches from hers. Lisari raised her hand in panic, and then he touched her. Everyone watching outside gasped. Lisari's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes went wide. Her body tensed, and nothing happened. No shock, no screams, no death. His hand was warm, real, gentle. "How?" she whispered. Jace looked at their hands. His fingers wrapped around hers like she wasn't a monster, like she wasn't cursed. "I don't know," he said softly. "But maybe I'm different." Lisari stared at him like he was a ghost. No one has ever touched me and lived." "Well," he said, smiling, "there's a first time for everything." Tears filled her eyes. Her legs gave out and she almost fell. But Jace held her up. He didn't flinch, didn't fear, just held her. Lisari broke down. The emotion she had buried for years rushed out like a flood. Outside, the guards shouted. The glass chamber shook. Alarms blared. They thought he was dying. Or worse, being turned into something deadly. But inside the chamber, a girl who believed she was cursed was finally held without fear. And a human who didn't belong to any kingdom, army, or race had just broken a curse no one else dared to try. The room had fallen silent. Outside the chamber, guards froze. Medbots rolled forward, scanners blinking in panic. The system flashed red. Unauthorized contact with Lissery. Probable fatality expected. And yet, Jace Morrow stood inside the glass cell. Alive. Lissery's hand still rested in his. No sign of pain. No screams. No death. "Commander," one technician whispered, voice shaking. "His vitals are normal. He's not dying." "Impossible," the captain replied. "Everyone dies. Even droids malfunction when she touches them. But not this human." Inside, Lissari slowly stepped back, her breath shaky. She stared at Jace as if seeing a ghost. Her voice came out barely a whisper. "What are you?" Jace gave a gentle smile, though he was just as confused. "A man who doesn't believe in curses." She shook her head. No, you don't understand. My touch has ended generals, assassins, entire royal lines, even my own brother." She stopped, pain darkening her glowing eyes. Jace lowered his hand. "And yet I'm still here." "But why?" She stepped closer slowly. "Why aren't you afraid?" "Because you looked lonely," he said. "And no one deserves to live like a ghost." Lissari's lip trembled, but before she could speak again, the chamber doors slammed open. Elite guards rushed in with weapons drawn, shields glowing. "Step away from the prisoner," one barked. "She's not a prisoner," Jace said calmly. They aimed their weapons at him. "You violated protocol. You could be contaminated, or worse." Lissari didn't move. She had been threatened before, millions of times, but something was different now. "Leave him alone," she said. "Quiet, weapon." The commander growled. Then came a voice none expected. Deep, cold, crackling through the speaker system above. "Bring the human to me. Immediately." Lissari's heart skipped. She recognized that voice. Dr. Verlac. He was the head of Project Godfinger. The one who turned her into this, the one who vanished after her curse began, and who was believed dead for years. But now he was watching. Somehow he knew Jace had survived her touch. And now, he wanted him. "Do not resist," the voice ordered. "Bring the human, or I trigger Lissery's neural lock." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Neural lock?" Lissari closed her eyes. "It will hurt me. Badly. It's how they control me when I disobey. They torture you? They call it keeping me safe. From myself." Jace's jaw tightened. "That ends now." Before the guards could react, Jace tapped a tiny button on his wrist. A small shockwave pulsed outward. The lights flickered. Weapons glitched. "What was that?" a guard shouted. "Just a signal," Jace said. Lissari looked around. "Signal to who?" Boom. An explosion rocked the far wall. Smoke burst into the corridor. Red. Light spun wildly. Armed shadows stepped through the smoke, humans in black armor bearing a silver phoenix symbol on their shoulders. Jace smiled. "My friends." The guards panicked. Some opened fire. Others fled. But in seconds, the chamber was secure. Jace's team sealed the door and stood protectively around Lissari. "You brought an army?" she asked, stunned. "Not an army. Just enough friends who believe no one should live in a cage." "But why me?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because someone told you your touch only kills. I think that was a lie, and I plan to prove it. And if it's not a lie, then I'll die holding your hand, and I'm okay with that." Lissari had never felt such confusion or hope. The team hurried her and Jace through secret tunnels. As they ran, Lissari's thoughts raced. She had been alone for so long. No one had ever tried to save her. Not once. And now this strange human had not only survived her touch, he was willing to fight a secret galactic project to free her. They reached a hidden ship docked in the belly of the moon station. Jace led her inside. Before the engines roared to life, Lissari turned to him. "You don't know what you've started, Jace Morrow." "I do," he said gently. "And I don't care." Behind them, The station's walls trembled again. An incoming message flashed across the console. To all fleets, priority alert. Target Jace Morrow is carrying live subject Lissari. Reward, 9 million credits. Dead or alive. Lissari read the message. Her hands shook. They're going to hunt you. For me. Then let them come, Jace said. I'd rather be hunted with you than live safe without you. And with that, the ship blasted into space. What started as a quiet moment in a glass cell was now a war across the stars. The stars outside the ship's window looked peaceful, but inside, tension buzzed through every wall. Lissari sat on the edge of a padded seat, her hands trembling. For the first time in years, she wasn't in a cell. She wasn't behind glass. She was free, or at least running. Jay stood near the ship's control panel, scanning maps and heat signatures. His crew, 4 humans, all ex-military or former bounty hunters, spoke in low tones as they jumped from one star system to another. Any word from Dr. Yoren? Jace asked. He's waiting on Salvin Prime, replied a woman with a scar over her eye. But he says we need to be careful. There are bounty hunters everywhere, over 9 million credits on both your heads now. Jace nodded. We'll go dark for a few cycles. Stay cold, quiet, hidden. Lissari looked up. Yoren, who is he? The only scientist I trust. If anyone can explain how you're still alive, and why I'm not dead, it's him. You think something's wrong with me? Jace turned toward her. No. I think something was done to you. And I want to know what. A few hours later, their ship landed on Salvin Prime, an abandoned frozen planet where white storms screamed across the sky, and nothing survived without shelter. Dr. Yoren was waiting in a camouflaged lab hidden beneath the ice. He was short, old and hunched, but his eyes burned with quiet brilliance. He stared at Lissari for a long time before speaking. You're the last one, aren't you? He said. Lissari blinked. What do you mean? Project Godfinger. The living weapon. I worked on the early phase. I quit when I realized what they were really doing. Jace frowned. Tell us everything. Yoren led them into the lab where old data chips and preserved notes covered the walls. Glowing screens displayed ancient DNA strands. One strand blinked, read Lissari's. They lied to her. Yoren began. They said she had a curse in her blood, that anyone she touched would die. But the truth is darker. He tapped a button. A screen lit up. Project Godfinger was designed to create a biological assassin, someone whose blood reacted violently to certain neural signals in other species. Reacted how? Jace asked. It shut down their nervous systems in a second, like flipping a switch. Lissari's hands clenched. I killed people with my blood? No, Yoren said quickly. Your blood was modified, yes, but it doesn't kill everyone. It searches for genetic hostility, it detects fear, aggression, or hidden commands. Only then does it strike. So why didn't it hurt Jace? Lissari asked, eyes wide. Yoren studied. Jace. Because he approached you without fear, and more importantly, with empathy. Your blood didn't see him as a threat. Lissari sat back, stunned. Her entire life, people treated her as a weapon. And yet, all it took was one human's calm presence to survive her. Yoren continued. And there's more. Your DNA is evolving. It's learning to resist its own programming. Your touch isn't deadly anymore. Not always. Sometimes it heals. Heals? Jace repeated. Yoren pulled up footage. An alien miner, injured on a moon, healed after Lissari accidentally brushed against him. Her gift is changing, Yoren said. She's not a weapon now, she's a bridge. Lissari covered her mouth, overwhelmed. But why would they lie to me? Yoren's face darkened. Because fear is easier to control than hope. Suddenly alarms flared in the lab. Jace rushed to the screen. Ships incoming. 4 of them. Bounty class. Yoren cursed. They tracked your heat trail. You need to go. Now. Lissari looked terrified. We can't leave you. You must. If they get you, they'll destroy this truth and start the project again. Jace grabbed her hand. We're going. But Lissari pulled away. No, I need to know more. What else did they do to me? You'll find the answers at the original facility, Yoren said. On Kelran 4, that's where it all began. Coordinates? Jace asked. Yoren handed him a drive. Don't trust anyone, and Jace, take care of her. She's not a weapon, she's the future. They barely escaped before the lab exploded behind them. Yoren sacrificed himself to protect the truth. Back on the ship, Lissari sat in silence as the stars blurred past. I thought I was poison, she whispered. Jace sat beside her. You're not. They wanted you to believe that, but you're not. And you... Why did you really come to me, Jace? He looked at her, then said quietly, because I saw someone who had never been touched with kindness. Lissari leaned her head against his shoulder, her voice trembling. Kelran 4, we'll have the answers. And maybe more lies, Jace replied. But either way, we'll burn their secrets to the ground. Space was cold, not just in temperature, but in silence, in betrayal, in fear. The ship drifted through the shadow of an asteroid field, hidden in the debris of broken moons. No lights, no signals, only silence. Lissari sat by the observation deck, her eyes on the stars, but her thoughts trapped in the past. A past where her hands were feared, where every glance she received was one of terror. Now, Jace had changed everything, or at least started to. But outside, death hunted them like a shadow with no face. Any word? Lissari asked quietly as Jace entered the room. Not yet. We're holding position. Scanners are clean, but it won't stay that way. They'll come, she said. They always do. An hour later, the ship's alarm lit up red. 3 ships, said Kiva, the scarred woman from Jace's crew. They're cloaked bounty hunters. Already? Jace muttered. They're faster than expected. He turned to Lissari. Get to the escape pod. If they board... No, she interrupted. I'm not hiding anymore. Jace stared. At her. You saved me once, she said. I'm not going to be your weakness now. The enemy ships dropped their cloaks, sleek black hunters with plasma cannons and bone-carved markings on the sides. Proof that these weren't just mercenaries. They were death dealers, elite contract killers, and Lissari was their target. Open a channel, Jace ordered. A cruel voice crackled through the speakers. Jace Morrow, surrender the girl, we'll let you live. Doubt that, Jace replied. Then bleed in the dark. The first shot hit their rear thruster. The ship jolted violently. Lissari gripped the wall. They won't stop. Then, neither will we, Jace growled. The crew fought back hard, dodging asteroids, firing shock bursts, laying traps in the debris. The ship danced through space like a hunted animal, wounded but fast. Lissari found herself in the engine room, helping the engineer reroute power. She didn't know much about tech, but she knew how to follow instructions. And for once, she felt useful. The ship shook again. Sparks rained down. They're boarding, Kiva yelled from the bridge. Jace met Lissari at the hallway junction. We can't stop them, he said. But we can stop them from taking you. No, she said. We finish this. I'm done running. The first bounty hunter breached. The hatch, tall, armored, eyes glowing red. He raised his gun, then paused. Lissari stepped forward. You don't have to die, she said calmly. Walk away. You're the death girl, he sneered. You touch, we fall. But you're not touching me. She reached out. He fired. The shot missed. Jace pushed the hunter back. Lissari touched the attacker's exposed neck, and he dropped instantly. No blood. No scream. Just silence. Jace stared at her. You controlled it, he said in awe. I didn't want to kill him, she whispered, shaking. But I did. You protected us. More enemies charged in. Lissari stood firm. Jace and his crew fought beside her. She touched 2 more attackers, both collapsed. The rest turned and fled. Fear. Not of death, but of her. They're leaving, Kiva shouted. They're really leaving. No, Jace said, staring at the stars beyond. This was just the first wave. Hours later, silence returned to the ship. Bodies were sealed, wounds bandaged. Lissari sat by the engine room staring at her hands. I killed again. You saved us, Jace said, sitting beside her. But I still killed. So did we. The difference is, you gave them a chance. She didn't reply. You had control, he said. That matters. Lissari looked at her, reflection in the polished metal wall. I thought I was a weapon, she said. But maybe I'm a storm. Dangerous, but not evil. Or maybe, Jace said softly, you're just a girl who was never given a choice. A long pause. Then she asked, do we still go to Kelran 4? Yes. It's the only place left. Do you think we'll survive? I don't know, Jace said honestly. But I'll go with you, even if it kills me. Lissari reached out and touched his hand again. Warm. Alive. No death, only trust. The journey to Kelran 4 took 4 standard days. 4 long, silent days. The crew barely spoke. The stars felt colder. The wounds from the last ambush were still fresh, both on their bodies and their minds. Lissari stood at the front of the observation deck each morning, eyes fixed on the black void ahead. Kelran 4, once just a name on a classified document, was now her destination, her truth, and possibly her end. We're approaching the system, Kiva said on the 4th morning. Kelran's moon is shattered, the planet's atmosphere is unstable, no sign of settlements. There wouldn't be, Jace replied. It was erased from maps for a reason. What if it's a trap? The pilot asked. Jace looked at Lissari. Then we spring it together. As the ship descended into the toxic clouds of Kelran 4, the world below came into view. Jagged mountains, black lakes, and deep scars across the land that looked like something had exploded underground. Lissari leaned forward. I've seen this place before, in nightmares. Those weren't nightmares, Jace said. They were memories. They landed near a massive cliff face covered in ash. According to the data chip Yoren gave them, there should have been a hidden entrance inside. They searched for hours. Finally, Jace found it. An old scanner buried under the dirt. He brushed it clean. When he placed his hand on it, the wall rumbled. A massive metal door opened slowly, revealing a tunnel descending deep into darkness. Lissari's heart pounded. This was it. The place they made her a weapon. Inside, the lab was dead. Power flickered. Machines hummed weakly. Dust covered everything. Lissari walked through the corridors like a ghost returning to her tomb. The rooms were filled with tanks, some cracked open, some shattered, some still full of a strange red liquid. Bodies floated inside. Not all were Ilari. Some were other species. Test subjects, failed trials. Lissari gasped. They tried this on others? Jace nodded grimly. Project Godfinger wasn't meant for one race. They were making death universal. They reached a chamber at the center. Sealed, marked with a red symbol, Level Omega, authorized access only. The symbol burned into Lissari's memory. She had been here before. Open it, she said. Jace's tech expert sliced the lock. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a massive circular room, dozens of monitors, ancient logs, broken weapons, and in the center, a large capsule. Lissari stepped forward. A voice echoed from hidden speakers. Old, recorded, hollow. Subject 7, Lissari Ilari. Test complete. Results: 98% lethal contact rate. Exception: untested on baseline human emotional resonance. Risk level: critical. Recommendation: terminate. Lissari froze. Terminate? She whispered. They wanted to kill me? They always planned to, Jace said softly. Once they got what they wanted. She looked around, trembling. I was just a test. No, he said, taking her hand. You were their failure, and that's what saved you. Suddenly the monitors flickered to life. A face appeared, old, pale, and cold. Dar Verlac, not dead. He smiled faintly. Lissari, Jace, welcome home. You're alive? Lissari growled. Very much. I knew you'd come, I just needed to wait. You made me a killer, she shouted. I gave you power, he replied, and you used it. Don't pretend you didn't feel it. When the bounty hunters died. It felt good, didn't it? She shook with rage. I felt sorrow, not joy. Because you're still holding back, he sneered. But you don't have to. Join me, help me build. A new order. With you as queen, untouchable, feared, worshipped. Jace stepped forward. She's not yours anymore. Verlac's smile faded. Then you both die. Explosions rocked the lab, turrets emerged from walls, drones dropped from ceilings. Run, Jace yelled. The crew fired back. Lasers lit the halls. Lissari moved through the chaos, shielding Jace when a beam nearly hit him. She wasn't helpless anymore. She was strength. They fought their way back toward the ship, but at the exit, they were blocked. Verlac's personal guard stood waiting. Tall, armored elite. Lissari stepped forward. Let us pass, she said. You are property of Godfinger, one said. You are not permitted to leave. Then I revoke my permission to exist for you, she whispered. She touched the ground. Energy pulsed from her fingers. The earth shook. The guards collapsed, instantly, not dead, but unconscious, controlled. You didn't kill them, Jace said in, I told you, she whispered. I'm not a weapon anymore. They reached the ship, took off through falling rocks and flames. Behind them, the lab collapsed, swallowed by the very earth that once held its horrors. Verlac's voice echoed one last time before the signal died. You think it ends here, but she belongs to me. Lissari looked at Jace. No, I belong to myself now. And for the first time, she believed it. The stars outside were calm, but inside Lissari a storm was rising. After escaping Kelrin 4 and destroying the cursed lab, she thought she would feel lighter. Free. But she didn't. Not yet. Not while Dr. Verlac still breathed. He'll rebuild it, she whispered, standing by the ship's long window. Somewhere else he'll find new children, new weapons. We won't let him, Jace replied from behind her. How do we stop a man like that? She asked. When he hides behind shadows, behind laws, behind fear? Jace's answer was quiet. Sometimes you burn the shadows. They traveled to the edge of the galaxy, to a planet known only in whispers, Voidara, a lawless world ruled by warlords and exiles, where credits bought anything, even silence, even souls. But more importantly, intelligence. A contact waited for them. An alien named Drenz, part machine, part flesh, drenched in secrets. I know where Verlac is, Drenz said, clicking his mechanical jaw. He's rebuilding Project Godfinger on a floating fortress above Morath's rings. Protected? Jace asked. Like a god, Drenz replied. Shields, fighters, orbital cannons, and worse, children already altered, early prototypes, some still bleeding. Lissari's breath hitched. Then we don't wait. Drenz raised a brow. This isn't a rescue, it's a war. Then we fight like it, she said. The crew prepared for their final mission. Jace armed the ship. Kiva trained the gunners. The pilot modified stealth systems. But Lissari, she trained herself. In the medbay, she studied her own blood under magnification, watched it pulse with strange energy. Part light, part shadow. Yoren said my gift was changing, she said to herself. Then I'll change with it. She practiced control, breathing, focus, reaching into her touch, pulling back when needed, releasing when not. She wasn't a monster. She was a blade, and this time, she would choose who to cut. 2 days later, the ship dropped out of warp above Morath's rings, and there it was. Verlac's fortress, floating in the dark, shaped like a jagged crown, spinning slowly above a field of broken ships and shattered moons. As they approached, a transmission buzzed through. Lisari, I knew you'd come. His voice, calm, smug. Ready? This is where you end, my beautiful creation. Your death will teach the others that freedom is a lie. Lisari stepped to the console and stared at the screen. You built me in a cage, Verlac. But now the cage burns. And you're still inside it. The message ended. Turrets activated. Hundreds of drones launched. The battle began. Jace piloted like a madman, weaving between lasers, dodging missiles. Kiva blasted drones left and right. The ship shook from impacts. We can't hold this forever, she yelled. We don't need to, Lisari said, rising. Get me inside. Alone? Jace asked. She looked at him with fierce eyes. He made me alone. Now he'll face me alone. Using a stealth pod, Lisari launched herself toward the fortress. Small, fast, nearly invisible, she breached the lower hangar, quiet as a whisper. Inside it was cold, metallic, filled with distant screams. She walked through empty halls where lights flickered and the floor was slick with oil and blood. Then she found them, children, locked in glass rooms. Just like her once. Some were awake, others barely breathing. A guard stepped out. Subject 7? He said, surprised. Not anymore, she whispered. He raised his gun. Lisari didn't flinch. She touched the air in front of her, then waved it toward him. He collapsed without a sound. Not dead, just silent. She opened the cages. The children stared at her. Come with me. You're not weapons. Not anymore. They nodded, afraid, but followed her. Verlac waited at the top of the fortress, surrounded by machines that hummed with deadly energy. When Lisari entered, he clapped. Beautiful, he said. My masterpiece returns. You brought the new batch? You're finally embracing your role. No, she said. Then what? Mercy. Justice. She raised her hand. Verlac laughed. You can't touch me. This room is shielded. Your powers are useless. Lisari smiled. I'm not touching you. She snapped her fingers. The lights went out. Her new gift activated. Not death. Not destruction, disruption. His machines died. His shield flickered. Panic crossed his face. What have you done? I evolved, she said. He ran for his weapon. She moved faster. Her fingers brushed his shoulder. He screamed. Not dead, but frozen. Locked in a loop of his own fear. Lisari stood over him. You made me kill without choice. But this is mine. She turned and walked away. Hours later, the fortress burned in orbit. Every child was freed. The systems were erased. Project Godfinger was gone. Lisari sat beside Jace in the ship's bridge. You had the chance to kill him, he said. I did. But he's still breathing. Not really, she replied. I left him in a body he can't control, with a mind full of guilt. That's a better punishment. Jace nodded slowly. You chose not to kill? No, she said, eyes shining. I chose who I became. The war was over. But peace, true peace, was not something that arrived with silence. It had to be earned. Lisari stood on a cliff overlooking the green plains of Alari Prime, her home world. Once she had only seen it through prison bars and lab windows. Now, she breathed its air freely for the first time in years, but her chest still felt heavy. It doesn't feel real, she whispered. Jace stepped beside her, dirt still on his boots from helping rebuild the city's water lines. That's because it isn't over for you. Not yet. Lisari looked at him, confused. You've freed the children, destroyed the lab, stopped Verlac. But you haven't faced them. Them? He pointed to the city below. The Alari Council. The same ones. Who once sold her to the project. Who called her a danger. A curse. A disgrace. They were waiting. And this time she would not be in chains. The council hall was wide and tall, carved from silver stone and glowing crystals. Thousands of Ilari citizens gathered outside, unsure of what they were witnessing. When Lissari entered, every seat grew silent. Some gasped. Others looked away. A few lowered their heads in shame. Jace walked beside her. But it was clear. This moment was hers. The head counselor stood, aged and afraid. Lissari Ilari, you are supposed to be dead. I was, she said. But the part of me that trusted you died long before that. He shifted uncomfortably. What do you want? Lissari raised her voice so everyone could hear. Truth. She pointed to the crowd. They feared me because you told them to. They hated me because you said I was cursed. But I was just a child. Gifted. Scared. Alone. The hall was silent. No one dared speak. And you gave me away. Sold me to scientists who cut my skin and poisoned my blood. Who turned me into a weapon. And you called it duty. We didn't know what else to do, the counselor muttered. You could have protected me, she said, tears in her eyes. But you didn't. He did. She turned to Jace. He stood quietly. Not proud. Just present. Lissari faced the council, again. This human, a stranger from a planet you laughed at, held my hand when you wouldn't even look me in the eyes. He faced my curse without blinking. He gave me choice. Something you never did. What do you want from us? A younger council member asked. Not power, she said. Not revenge. I want to speak to every child born with something different. Something they fear. Something you fear. The council gave her a platform. She stood in front of the entire city, and she spoke. Her voice echoed across the stars. She told the truth about Project Godfinger, about the pain, the lies, the stolen futures. She showed them the rescued children, no longer locked in cages but playing in sunlight, learning, music, drawing stars. She showed them that her hands no longer took life, but saved it. When a landslide struck a nearby village, Lissari led the rescue herself, touching stone, guiding trapped survivors, using her gift to calm their panicked bodies and stabilize wounds. The people who once ran from her now reached for her, not in fear, in hope. Weeks later, as dusk fell over the horizon, Jace found her again at the cliff. You changed the world, he said. She shook her head. No. You changed mine. They stood in silence. What will you do, now? He asked. I don't know, she admitted. I could teach, or explore, maybe help others like me. And us? He asked gently. Lissari smiled. You held my hand when the world thought it would kill you. Do you really think I'd ever let it go? He reached out again. No fear, no hesitation. She took it. And this time the world didn't gasp. It cheered. Somewhere, far beyond the known, systems Dr. Verlac remained trapped in his own mind. His machines gone, his empire burned. A silent warning to all who believed control was strength. But the real strength was choice. And Lissari had finally made hers. Not to destroy, not to punish, but to live. Fully, freely, and loved. Because once, she was the girl whose touch meant death, and now, she was the woman whose touch brought healing.